Yeah, hi everybody, Ryan back here with you again. Today I was going to go over the new tractor we bought back in mid-July, and now it's beginning of November, so I guess it's been roughly 3.5 months or so. So we've got a little over 50 hours on it. I was down at my dealer the other day, picked up the oil filter for it, and I got an air filter for it, and I ordered fuel filters, but they're not in yet. But the main thing we had to do was change that break-in oil out at 50 hours. So I was going to do that, but I was going to kind of do that at the end of this, because it's really simple, really quick. But I wanted to kind of do a 50-hour review and the experience we've had with the tractor so far. This is a new model for this. It's actually a 2021, so it's a new model for this year. I think I was one of the first ones on our first video. I think we was one of the first ones on YouTube with it, even before some of the dealers got out there with the videos on them. So I'm one of the first people to probably own one in the country. So it's been a real good little tractor. I can't really say anything bad about it. The only thing, I mean, I kind of wish they had a 2705, which is a frame. It's a little bit bigger. The frame's a little bit bigger on it down there. And for the money, I mean, it wasn't too much more. I almost kind of wish I would have went with that one, but I'm satisfied with what we got and in the performance we've had. So far, I've got a set of 2 bottom Dearborn plows we pulled with it. I think we've had that on the channel. I've got a 10-foot set of field cultivators, 3-point, that I've pulled with it. I've got a 6-foot disc, 8.5-foot disc. I've pulled those with it. We've got a 7-foot brush hog we've pulled with it. And I think that's everything. I've actually used my, I've got an adapter, a 3-point hitch adapter from my 2-row planter that's now Chalmers that has, I made a hitch for it for 3-point, but it's got a snap coupler hitch as well, so we can use it on the older WDs. And as well on a 3-point tractor, so I pulled that with it too. So we've done about everything with it, and it's handled everything really well. The only thing I've added so far, I just bought these the other day. I bought a set of wheel weights for it, and they're not the right color, but they are for these rims, and my Massey Ferguson dealer sells them. So I called him, and he said they had 4 of them. These are 106 pounds a piece, I believe. So I've got 1 on each side right now, but when I got down there, they only had 3, and I wanted 4 because I was going to stack them and have 2 on each side. Then if I plowed, I could move 1 to the land side and have a little bit more weight on that land side. And it kind of helps too with the loader, gives you a little bit more weight in the back, because the loader on this is pretty powerful. It'll lift, I mean, it won't stop. It'll lift anything you put under it, but it'll bring the back of the tractor up, unless you got something heavy on the back of it. So that's why I wanted to have about 400 pounds of weight on the back of it too, to kind of help with that. Because I think the capacity on this was around 1900, 2000, I believe. Yeah, I'll have to look in the manual. Don't quote me on that 100%. So, I mean, there's stuff I know that I've lifted that is within the limitations of it, but it'll still lift the back of the tractor off the ground. So I think that the 400 pounds or so weight on the back of the tractor helped with that. So that's one thing. The only other thing I noticed with it that's a little bit of a concern, but not too much, I talked to the dealer about it the other day. When you use the differential lock, the little foot pedal up here on the console, or in the platform here, it's actually right here, the differential lock. If you've got one wheel spinning on the back, you can lock that in and lock both wheels in. It works really well, it goes in easy, but sometimes it'll stay in until it frees up. And you'll kind of get a popping noise, or it sounds a little harsh. And I asked them about it, and they said it was pretty well normal. I mean, they said if anything, 5-year powertrain. They said if anything happens with it, it wouldn't be an issue to get it taken care of if it was abnormal. The only other thing I was going to add, I just bought a set of nice LED work lights that I'm going to mount up here for the back, because it doesn't have any work lights on the back, and it appears to me that there's actually already wiring for it back here on both sides, kind of back in here, that's actually got plugs on them, and those are on both sides. And I was gonna have to get my multimeter out and test for voltage back there when I have the lights on, and see if that's the case. So if that's the case, it'd be a real easy plug and play for the most part. 3-point hitch works really nice. The only thing, I had this one side pushed out here a little bit. One time, my stupidity, I had it way extended probably when I was plowing, kind of had things backwards, and I actually bent this one side over here, but I put it in my press in there, shot press, and pressed it back out, and haven't had any, didn't break it or anything, didn't have any issues with that. So that's really the only thing I've quote unquote tore up on it so far. So I got a wheel weight over here on the other side, and I've got one more wheel weight in there as well, but I'm just waiting on, he's going to order me another one, so then I'll have two for each side. So other than that, I mean, sometimes when you're changing ranges on the gear selector, it kind of can be a little stiff, I guess. I mean, you have to put it in gear up on the shuttle shift and kind of bump it a little bit to kind of just change ranges. But the gear, the 4-speed down here, the lower shifter, that one works real. I mean, I don't have any issues with that, but like when you're trying to go through the 3 ranges, sometimes it's a little, you got to play with it a little bit to get it to change ranges. So that's pretty much, I mean, for the most, well, other thing, I was doing some bush hogging the other day and some high grass, had a bunch of seed, like fescue seed and stuff in it that was blowing in. And this radiator, it does pull in, which most of them do these days. I think Caterpillar is about one of the only ones that actually, the old dozers and stuff, they blew everything out, which I guess you'd get the same effect because it'd be pulling everything in. But this got pretty plugged up, so I know if I'm brush hogging again, I'll have to take, I bought a gas-powered air compressor, and you really need something if you're in heavy weeds or something with a lot of fine seed or whatever, chaff or whatever coming off of it. This whole grill will get covered. But the one thing nice down here, they got a screen that pulls out that you can blow out. But the one thing I'll tell you, if you're going to do that, I would shut the tractor off, because I know what I would pull it out and everything would just like get sucked into the radiator because it's pulling in still. So I would shut the tractor off first before you pull this out, because like I said, everything's just going to get sucked into the radiator and it's going to kind of defeat the purpose. So, I mean, it's nice the way you can get to everything. I mean, your air filter's right here, real easy to get to. Batteries up front, easy to get to. And this is just like a car hood, it just latches down here. So, and as far as servicing, oil fills right here, oil filters right here. I guess there's 2 fuel filters. There's a little element, it looks like, up here, and I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't have the other filter yet, so I'm waiting on that. So once we get that, we might update that as well. So like I said, I'm pretty, I think we got 56 hours or so on it. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the tractor. We've got the bucket the loader bucket came with it, and we've bought a set of forks too. I bought those down at my Kubota dealer. They were a little bit, my Ferguson dealer wanted like $1,400 for the forks, and I think I got Land Pride, I believe they're Land Prides, just like skid loader forks, so you can adjust the forks and all that, and it has a nice rack on the front of it. I think I paid like $875 or something down at my Kubota dealer, so they were a lot cheaper, and we use those around here. As you can see, I got everything palletized now around here, so we can pick stuff up and move it around. So it's makes it a lot easier for me to move stuff around by myself, and it's just pretty handy to have. So that's pretty much it with the review. Like I said, I'm pretty satisfied with it at this point. My dealer, I got a pretty good dealer for support and all that, so that's helps too. But we'll go ahead and get into the service here. And my book, it calls for a 5W30 or a 10W30, depending on what type of temperature you're running in. And they want a, I believe a CK4, API CK4 compliant oil right down here. So, and the only thing I could find in a 10W30 that's compliant in a diesel oil was a Rotella synthetic blend. I really wanted to use a conventional, but it's just, I didn't see, I mean, I looked at a couple places, and that's the only thing I seen was the synthetic blend, so it is what it is, I guess. I got my oil filter down at my dealer. It was like 20-something down there, so I might try to cross that to a Napa number because I get a better discount down there. The oil pan down here, I'll show you in a minute. It's got the drive shaft for the front axle goes through the middle of the oil pan, so you've got a you get a drain plug. Sorry about that. There's a drain plug on each side of the oil pan. It's a 19mm plug, so we'll go ahead and pull those out, drain the oil, and I just use a big crescent wrench to pull that filter off, and we'll put the oil on by hand and pretty much be done. It only holds supposedly 5 quarts according to the book, so it only needs a small oil pan, and I just got 2 gallons of oil here. So we'll go ahead and drain that oil out. All right, so you got 2 plugs. Here's a little drive shaft that goes to the front, and then there's the plug on this side and the plug on this side. So move this out of the way until we get this broke loose. I usually just lock 2 wrenches together. I got a feeling that's gonna hit that. It's gonna run everywhere probably. So I don't know how I feel about that feature. Yep, that's kind of what I figured. No, that one didn't do it. All right, so the pan's coming down to a trickle there, almost drained out. There's one other thing I wanted to show you guys here that I didn't mention a minute ago. As you notice, I got the loader up out of the way. I've been out of town before for 2 weeks, and I've had it in the building over there with the loader up, and it's drifted off, but I've had it over, you know, for 2 or 3 days, and it's stayed up. It hasn't drifted any. But they do have a lock right here on the side. There's actually a picture of a little lock on here, and you can pull that up into position there and lock it, and that way nobody can hit that, you know, while if you're working on it, you know, one of the kids or something jump up on there and hit it and drop it on you. So that's a nice little lockout feature there on that control when you're doing something like this. So oil filter is pretty easy to get to, and I kind of like the fact that those plugs, everything kind of lines up down there for the most part, so you can kind of use the same pan when you're draining this, so everything is right underneath. Grab a set of, use a filter wrench, or I just use these big channel locks. Take this off, shouldn't be too tight. Yeah, it's kind of nice the way everything's right in the same area there. A lot of stuff's not like that. Usually they'll have the oil filter somewhere else, and you gotta use another pan or move the pan or whatever. And this is a Denso filter. So, because this tractor is made in Japan. I believe these are made by Seki for Agco or Massey Ferguson. So I'm gonna just want to compare the new filter just to make sure it's about the same thing. Look the same to me. So put that down there. Then I'll just grab a little bit of oil here to lube that seal. So they just want that down and 3/4 of a turn. That's pretty well it. So now I'll take a rag. And one thing I use brake parts cleaner for a lot of stuff. I like the green. Like CRC, they have a green can and a red can, and the green stuff I think the same way with Napa's brand. They have that's red, but the green stuff is usually non-chlorinated. It dries really quick, but you gotta be careful. It will take paint off of stuff if it's not real good paint, or if it's fresher paint, it'll take the paint off. I like this because it dries really quick, so it cleans everything up. It takes oil off pretty quick, then it dries, like I said, really quick. The red, the chlorinated stuff, this stuff's really flammable too. The other stuff isn't flammable, I don't believe, but it stays wet for a long time. So, I mean, if you're doing some heavy cleaning, that's good brake cleaner to use. But if you're just trying to clean something up real quick, it lays wet for a long time. This stuff does a little bit better. So. So then I like to, around this plug, there's some dust and stuff. So I don't want to, where the engine fill, where the fill is. So just clean that off before we open it. So you don't get any dust or anything down in there. But like I said, be careful about using that on any type of good finishes or fresh paint or something, because it'll take it off. So oil looks like it's a drain down there, so we'll throw the 2 plugs in and throw 5 quarts of oil in this, I believe, and that'll be pretty much a wrap. Yeah. Okay, so we got the plugs on down the bottom, got those tightened up, everything cleaned up again down there. Like I said, I use the brake cleaner, clean all that up, get all the oil off, because if you don't, you're gonna have dirt and whatever sticking to it, and you're gonna cake up and all that. So I try to get everything clean as possible. So we cleaned off the plug before we took it off, and I got a funnel here to get in there. And I do the same thing. Just clean everything out of there, or blow it out with air, and it dries relatively quick. So take the cap off. And there's an O-ring there we don't want to lose. All right, so all done. So the book calls for 5 quarts. So I'm going to throw a gallon in it and check it. Nope. Actually, I'm not going to be able to use that one. All right, so I had to get a different funnel here, one that we can go in there with. The other one was kind of straight out, so we got that in there. We're going to go ahead and throw a gallon of oil in this. It calls for 5 quarts, so we'll see what a gallon does. thing I hate about these smaller funnels, they just take forever to drain. All right, so we got exactly 5 quarts in it, and the dipstick's over here. And it looks like we were right at full there, but we'll double check it. And there we're right at the F, so 5 quarts exactly for the most part. I mean, the filter, the book says with filter 5 quarts, so I mean it's a horizontal filter, so it's going to drain back. It's not going to hold filter like hold oil like a vertical filter does. So don't have to worry too much about that. Plus, it's a really small filter. So that's it for that. I'm going to go ahead and start it up here just to make sure everything's good. Make sure the filter's not leaking over on the other side. And be pretty much it with this. So everything looks good there. Don't see any leaks or anything. We'll probably go ahead and let it run for a couple seconds here, just to make sure. All right, so that's pretty much it for the service on it. First service, 50-hour break-in service. There's only a couple grease fittings on these. I've already greased them a couple times. There's one on each of the tie rod ends, and there's like a trunnion. There's one on the front and back up here on the axle. Then I believe in the book they had on the brake linkage, but I didn't see anything back there. So those on this front axle, that's really all I see as far as grease for any grease fittings. So there's not a whole lot on it. And other than the loader, I mean the bucket, of course, there's a bunch of fittings on that. So, so other than that, like I said, I'm pretty satisfied with the tractor at this point. Easy to work on, easy to operate, easy to get on and off. So that's pretty much it for this. So if you haven't subscribed to us yet, we do a little bit of farming, trucking, working on stuff, money saving tips if you're in the trucking business and in the farming business, working on old farm equipment. So if you haven't, like I said again, if you haven't subscribed, please do that to get all the updates. We're going to start getting a little bit busier here with winter time. Going to be doing a lot of maintenance on equipment and all that. And we got some fall crops and stuff we're going to be putting out too. So again, subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell for the updates, and like the video. So we'll see you next time.